Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is State Representative and Clinton Town Council member Chris Aniskovich.
Hi, Peter.
Hello, Chris. How are you, pal?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
What's new?
Nothing.
Oh, come on. There's got to
We
be.
got to fill up all this stuff now? All right. So when was I here last? January?
Right before session.
Right before session. So, yeah. Town manager in Clinton has, he resigned in December and ended in February. So he left in February, middle of February. So we now are in the process of going through hiring a headhunter firm in order to put out a search for a new town manager. So that's in process. And we have a new interim town manager, Richard Brown. He actually is part of the headhunting firm that we hired. Randy Frank Consulting is the headhunter. That's the firm that we hired in order to put out the search for the new town manager. So that's hopefully going to be posted. We've had a couple of meetings on that already, and we've come up with kind of what we want to put out to the public in order to generate some, some activity on that. We have had some people that have applied already, and then the search we'll get an update next week as far as where we're at and how many people have applied so far. So I think at this point there was probably, I think they said 8 people that have applied. The hard part's going to be, getting somebody who was a town manager in another town, which is what you would like. We had Carl, and he was great. I mean, I think he did a lot of great stuff for the town, and his experience and his knowledge, he brought a lot to Clinton and really helped us kind of, keep the waters at bay. Got us through COVID, dealt with what we needed to deal with on that end. So he was a great asset to the town. And I think losing him it's going to be a big problem. I think it's going to be an issue. I think, I don't think people understood really how much he really did bring to the town. So hopefully we'll find somebody with, as much experience as him. But the problem becomes, we don't have a board of finance. No. So the individual that we need is going to have to be somebody that's very knowledgeable on, working with the budgets. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things that is going to be important to have as we go out and make that search and determining who we want to bring in.
Now, as far as the search goes, is it a national search? Do you search just New England?
Nope,
or?
It's a national search. So they put it out in periodicals and they advertise it across the country. Okay. So there are some people currently that are in state that have applied, and there's a couple that have been out of state that have applied so far. Okay. That sometimes becomes a little bit more difficult, just for timing purposes on how quickly they can get here. So that's going to play into how quickly we'll have a new full-time town manager seated. So we have a contract in place now for the interim town manager to help us navigate through the process until we get the final town manager.
Now what people don't know is the town manager is there just to run the town.
That's his job.
Meaning he's not at public events, he's not the grocery store openings or?
No. It's, town managers are non-political. Okay. So basically that's not even a question you can ask somebody when they apply for the job. Political affiliation, it's not even asked because it doesn't play a part in, who we hire to fill that seat. Okay. So that was one of the things that I spoke about at a council meeting was that we're still learning, I think. We're still in the learning curve as far as what this town manager should be and what their job is to be. Okay. And, the council is what they are. We have 7 members on the council. There's a chairman of the council. They're the ceremonial head of the town. And the town manager runs the town. He deals with town employees, deals with department heads. He deals with human resources. I mean, Carl, budgets. Budgets. He dealt with the union contracts. We have 5 unions in town, so it's difficult. And Carl did a great job negotiating the contracts with the unions. So he did a lot of work on that. So he did a lot of work that, like a lot of town managers don't necessarily do. Right. And I think that's where we're going to feel, most of the hurt because we don't have a board of finance. Mm-mm. So he dealt with that. And so he would do the budget. He would deal with department heads. He'd bring it to the council and then would come with areas that he felt we would be able to, maybe move some stuff or deal with some cuts. So we'll miss that. Luckily, he was here through that process and he stayed through just our last meeting we had. We basically went to, approved it and went to public hearing. So at least he stayed through that process, and then hopefully if it doesn't pass and we have to come back and make cuts and stuff, he'll be available. So he's actually signed a sort of a consulting contract, so that if we need some things with him, he'll be available, and we need him to be available.
Yep.
Especially for something like Pearson School, because that's still in the beginning stages as well. So there's some stuff that he dealt with on the state level that we want him to continue to work with the Attorney General's office as it related to the underlying deed restriction on that property.
Can we talk about the Pearson project, or
Sure.
not really?
Yeah, no,
Yeah?
I mean, we have a preferred developer. It's been announced already. It's a HOPE project, so it's a nonprofit that came in. They're in partnership with Zenolith Partners. So we have an agreement in hand with them. There's not a final signed contract. We're in the process of an access agreement now, meaning the process of what they will need to do on that property prior to signing the final agreement on it. So, hopefully that in the next 30, 60 days, we'll have some more movement as far as what they're going to want to do, what access they want to the property, because they'll have to do testing, they'll have to, do a whole bunch of stuff for themselves to know kind of where they're going to need the most work on that property.
Now, that building's been closed for a while.
Going on 5 years.
Who knows what it looks like inside when you open the doors?
The good part is it's been maintained.
Oh, has
so
it?
the town has maintained it.
Oh, okay.
The utilities have been on. It's been clean. The janitors always go in. They always check it. So it has been EPCAP.
Okay.
Because there's still some expenses that the town's been incurring on that for these last 5 years. So there's still things that they do to make sure that the property is taken care of.
Okay.
So them coming in are more so on the what remediation they want, if there's asbestos, that sort of stuff. There's also septic issues because it's going to be senior housing, so that's what they're going to bring to the table. So 42 units, I believe, is what they're projecting to put in. So there's going to be some septic issues that they'll have to deal with as well. So they'll have to go through that process of, doing the work that they need to do to find out how they'll handle that. So, but I mean, it's exciting that the building itself is going to stay kind of as is. The facade of the front, we've always stressed to anybody who wanted to come forth that we would like them to keep the facade of the building because it's important to the town.
Yeah.
And then the other easements as it relates to the church, that's going to stay in place as well, so that the church will have access as well to people that want to go there. And then the gazebo in the front, we also carved out a piece for that.
Okay.
So that we could try to keep that, because we know we do the summer concert series.
Concerts, right?
So your parents always go. So
yes.
You'd let them know we did that just for them.
Okay.
And those were that's part of the community, the fabric of the community that we wanted to keep in place. And it was important when we, talked to any developers that came in that they understood we wanted to keep that.
Now, you said it's going to become senior housing. How long do you think this is going to take?
I don't think the project will probably take 3 to 5 years to completion. First process is the access agreement, that they'll start doing the work that they need to do. Then they'll continue to work on the financing on their end. They'll do a lot of tax credits and historic tax credits. So part of the interior of the building, there's a gymnasium.
Yes.
That has to stay, because that'll be the historic part of the building that they'll keep intact, which allows them to get state historic tax credits.
Historic funding.
Yes. So they're going to access that as well. So, and as a nonprofit, they have outlets to get some more funding on that as well. Okay. And then that piece of it and that part of it, the town is in negotiation with the developer as far as what the use of that will be. And so we're hoping that we'll have some sort of access to that, just depending upon, how they'll do an exit and an entrance, and see if there's some way for the town to have the ability to access that area. And again, there's always been the talk about a senior center in town.
Yeah.
And as far as what's going on now, Christina Akampora, who runs our senior coordinator, she does an outstanding job.
Yeah.
She came before the council and talked to the council about her desire to be involved in anything that happened there. I was shocked when she came in telling us that she's got an email list of like 600 people. So the activities that she's been doing has been growing, and I think as we grow, we have an aging population. This is something that would be important for the town to have and to have access to, and the developer is willing for us to be involved in that.
Now, I saw recently in one of the local media outlets, in one of the postings, of the next phase of what's going on up at where Big Y is, where Madison Furniture Barn is.
I saw the article as well.
Okay.
The town hasn't been told anything.
Okay.
There's four other slots in the front, and then there's also the hotel in the back.
Okay.
But he doesn't build anything until he knows that he's not going to build a pad unless he knows he has somebody in place to come in and with a signed lease agreement. So those 4 pads won't be built until he has something. I know the idea is eateries.
Okay.
And again, it's just hard.
Right.
Whether you take a national franchise, independent,
Right.
you have to decide what to do. So, as far as the town goes, at least we're going to start, as they maintain the phases, at least the town starts generating some tax revenue.
Okay.
So I think next year they're going to be off of that, and we'll start accumulating some tax revenue from that project.
Speaking of tax revenue, how's the budget looking?
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done a great job in the town with Carl's help to maintain and have a flat mill rate for 3 of the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
We had 1 year where it dropped because of the reevaluations. So it's hard to maintain that. Everybody knows that people are still struggling and money's tight and we're doing the best we can.
Right.
But unfortunately, at the end of the day, there's going to come a time where you can't continue to do that.
No.
So I think we did the best we could on this budget. There will be an increase that's going to go out to public hearing.
Okay.
Town side is just under 700,000, and the Board of Education side, I believe, is about $1.7 million.
Okay.
And their struggle is, special ed needs. I mean, it's a very costly part of their budget. And when you have students in your district that need outside help, and you have to find them not only places to go, but then transport them to those places,
Right.
it is very
That gets
expensive.
costly.
Very costly. And we have a lot. And, which speaks volumes, I guess, to our town, that they're coming to our town. But we have to maintain, the needs that they have. And we need to make sure that we provide them those needs. So at the end of the day, it's not a huge increase as far as, the amount that people would pay more per month.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an increase nonetheless. But I think we've done a good job at, doing the best we can.
Right. Now, I was downtown recently and I saw they redid the front of Grand Eats.
Yes. So he went.
Looks very nice.
It is.
It
So
is.
Yes, he got a grant. So he got a facade grant from the town.
Oh, okay.
So that he applied for that grant. It was available through the town, where you can get a percentage of monies in order. It's up to $50,000.
Okay.
Property owner is responsible for 75, or town's responsible for 75. The property owner is responsible for the 25%
Okay.
difference. So he applied for that. He got that, and that was also utilized by Clinton Glass. The facade that they did on Clinton Glass, he also utilized that. And Milano Chiropractor also utilized some of those funds to do facade next to Pearson
Next
School.
person, yeah.
Yeah. So some of that facade's the program's been around for a while. There are some restrictions because of the grant funds that are available.
Yep.
So if you're a historic building, there's some things you have to work through in order to do that. But it's been a big push. It's been a big talk about that we do as far as downtown and trying to, get conformity in our downtown. And the hard part is that as a town, we own nothing. Right. We own Pearson School, and that's it. So we don't own the buildings that are downtown. So it's difficult for us to maintain and ask, there's things that we would like to see.
Right.
But how do we get to that end is difficult. If we don't own the building, how do we get that property owner to do what we would like to see them do?
Right.
So it's an ongoing conversation. There's some things that we've talked about. There's a downtown committee, part of that with a couple other people on the council, talking about maybe just doing some regulation changes as far as what we would like to see downtown, so business-wise, so that it gives us a little bit more conformity, number one. Number two, kind of getting the businesses there that we'd like to see.
Okay.
But again, nothing changes unless that property sells.
Right. What else is going on downtown?
Downtown, that part, that's really kind of what we're working on. WPCC, the Water Pollution Control.
Yep.
Dug some pits in the parking lot across the street, see what we could do for sewers, because that's a big part of our problem. Our infrastructure is old, we don't have sewers, so some of the things that people would like to do downtown, they can't. Some of those older buildings, if you wanted to put, let's say, an apartment above them, in order to generate some income for that property owner, he'd have a very difficult time because the density, and they don't have the sewers. So trying to figure out some ways where we can do some alternative sources of septic, and hopefully we can find some ways to kind of do that so we can bring more into that area. So, we'll see what happens on that. That's going to be an ongoing conversation, and one that, unfortunately, we'll probably never see.
Right.
So, if we wanted to change our downtown, that's kind of the thing, It's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to be long-term, and then we may never see it. We've also allocated $1.4 million of our undesignated fund balance in order to do some sidewalks on North High Street.
Okay.
Going west. So there's a portion of sidewalks that we'll be doing there. So that money's been allocated. Hasn't really started yet, but we're going to do that. Library wants to do some work, so we've allocated some money for a survey and a study for them to look into doing some work. Don't know what they want to do, but there's some things that they do want to do there. So that'll be something that they'll be working on as well. Across the street from the police department, you can see they're leveling all the trees over there next to the 360 Credit Union. So that was a project that was approved last year, and where the corn crib was. Corn crib left. They kept the other building and did work on that to maintain that building because it was considered to be historic. And now the developer's coming in to do that, and those are going to be townhouse style condominiums there.
Nice.
So a lot of housing coming in. The one over by Unilever is, I think there's 4 units left there. So that's almost full, which is unbelievable. But at least there's some, there's some activity there. And then the old Bank of America building. It's going to be a restaurant with 2 apartments above, so that's in process right now. So they're doing work there. And I believe that might be it right now, other than the demolition of the old Dina Valley's building.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw it.
It's not cursed.
No.
So that was the big talk.
So what happened? What happened?
So it wasn't an occupied building. So the owner was an absent owner, so there was nothing there. So the business was closed, nobody rented above, and the apartments, and the waters and the pipes burst. So by the time they finally got to the interior of it, it was just, I guess, pretty much a disaster.
Just tear it down.
So the best thing that they could do was just demolish it and level it, and that's what they went forth and did. So that's leveled. There's nothing that's been come forth for the town, so there's nothing currently that's going to be presented to go in replacement of that right now. But hopefully at some point that'll go as well.
I did notice I was by there the other day. The building is demolished, but the sign is still up.
We're just going to make sure everybody still knows.
The building is demolished, but the sign is still up.
The difficult thing was they always say it was cursed, but Dina Valley's was wonderful. I mean,
it was.
I mean, his business did well. They survived all the curse stuff, and it was just finding people. I mean, COVID hit, had trouble finding people to work, like a lot of restaurants, and unfortunately, you have to do what you need to do. He owns one in Rocky Hill as well, and
does he?
Yeah, so there was one there, and so he was going back and forth. There was a lot of work, and it was just overwhelming. It's family business. He has family, kids, grandkids, and it was hard for him to kind of maintain a lifestyle that was healthy for him, I guess. So it was kind of the Rocky Hill was there forever and still open. So we lost ours. So now we have to drive all the way to get.
Now we got to go all the way to Rocky Hill to.
So, and that's the other thing. I mean, the restaurant-wise in town, we need more we need more restaurants. I think it's because it's we have the ones down by the water where they're seasonal. And that takes away from a lot that we have in town. So it's.
And then we have the other one by your office.
I mean, you have to continue to, and I guess some of this has to do with our infrastructure. And that's the problem. If we had sewers, things could be different because people would be able to do more. But unfortunately, we don't, and it's an extremely, expensive in order to do that project. And so we have to kind of figure out what we're going to do and how we'll be able to do it.
Now, as far as the budget goes for the town, I'm assuming the Board of Education is a bigger chunk of the budget rather than the town side of things.
I mean, our budget is hard, and it's hard because on the town side, 77% of our budget is contractual agreements. So there's not much. Like, when you get into a budget season and you're looking at things to cut, well, where do you cut and how do you cut? Because you're cutting services, and we don't want to cut services to the public. We want to be able to maintain kind of what we have. So it's hard on the town side to kind of, deal with that. And it's the same way on the education side. Their budget is pretty much the same percentage-wise of cost-related issues. I mean, their contractual agreements, the teachers and salaries and benefits, and that makes up the majority of their budget. And again, it's the same thing. You can't tell the Board of Education what to do. You can't tell them to cut this or cut that. We have no, statutorily, they control their budget. So the only thing you could do is ask them to reduce the amount. And this year we went through and people kind of understood where their budget was. They understood kind of where their expenses increased. And a lot of it had to do, like I said, with special needs and the cost associated with that. So how do you get rid of that? You want to be able to provide those services in town so that when people move here, they know that they have the availability to utilize that and that we'll take care of them. So it's hard, it's costly, and it's just very difficult to make cuts, because when you make cuts, what do? On the town side, it would be getting rid of workers. And where do you want to go to get rid of somebody?
Right.
You don't want to do that.
No.
It's a bad thing.
Yes. Now, as far as the other things going on in town,
What else is going on?
I don't know.
A lot of development, these new developments that are going in. I think the Pearson School is a big one, obviously, because it's, something that's been there for quite a while.
Right.
And the underlying deed restriction, because we talked a little bit about that with Carl staying on.
Yep.
So there's an underlying deed restriction on that property, so that the town had at one point paid the Morgan Trust money in order to relieve the underlying deed restrictions of the usage of that building.
Okay.
Because it was considered to be for educational purposes or moral fortitude. That was sort of what the use of that building was supposed to be for.
Okay.
So in order for the town to kind of be able to branch out and say, what else is available for us to do with that building,
right,
we needed to kind of have that released. So that was done, but the deed itself still has to be approved, and the monies that were paid has to be approved, which has been okayed, but there's still work that's left to be done at the Attorney General's office in Hartford. And Carl dealt with that from the time he got here.
Okay.
So he's agreed to stay on as that process goes through, and sees it through the process. So hopefully that'll be something that will, continue to move on, and we'll see some activity sooner rather than later.
Okay. How are things going on the town council?
Good. Got new people seated on the council, so kind of just weeding through all that, getting everybody up to speed on that, getting everybody, because again, new members, you're kind of revisiting what was there before.
Yeah.
And then losing a town manager also creates more problems, because now you have an interim coming in, and the interim obviously is, maybe doing things differently than the original town manager was. So you might have a different view on kind of how things are being handled. So that becomes an issue as well. So we're working through what we need to work through, but it's a struggle, and it's hard, and it's nobody's fault. It's just the reality that we have an interim town manager,
right,
which is different than our town manager. And how, Carl went about doing things may be different than what an interim and how they handle it. So the interim that we have was a former town manager in other towns within the state of Connecticut, so he has, some knowledge of how to do that.
Right.
The issue becomes, the permanent and what we're going to get. And based upon preliminary discussions, there's not a lot of town managers or city managers out there on the streets.
No.
Because there's a lot of places in the state of Connecticut that are looking for town managers.
Right.
So that's the other issue, is we're fighting a battle. So hopefully we'll get somebody that can help us like Carl did, and if not, we'll work through it.
Right. Now, how long typically does it take to get a permanent town manager?
It depends.
Or does it depend?
Right. I mean, it all depends. Depends who's coming forth and submitting applications.
Okay. Depending
Upon what the council would like to see in the new town manager. Depending upon how long we want to keep it open. Because again, the headhunters will obviously collect the resumes and then put together a list of people that they feel would be best suited to be a town manager in our town.
Gotcha.
Then there'll be a short list, and then the short list is interviewed by the council. So, there'll be a process of going through. The last time, instead of, we did like an open house kind of thing where told everybody in town we're gonna have an event at town hall. The last 3 that we had that we were interested in interviewing, we had the town come in so you could meet the individuals, just to kind of get an idea of them personally.
Okay.
And we'll probably do the same thing again. But again, coming to an agreement, there's 7 people.
Right.
There could be 7 different ideas of what we want to see in a town manager.
Exactly. Right.
I mean, I know what I would like to see, which may not be what somebody else likes to see.
Right.
So it's hard, and you just have to, hopefully, we get that one person where everybody says, that's the, the person that we want to go with.
Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back.
Social media Media is used as a fun distraction for some people, and taking a Facebook quiz may seem like a harmless way to pass the time. But are you giving away more information than you think? A few questions are answered to prove how well you know a friend, or a short personality test is offered to match with a character from your favorite show. These quizzes appear to be meaningless, but the intent behind them is to collect your information. Questions like, what was your first car? What is your mother's maiden name? Or what is the name of the street you grew up on? Are common security questions for insurance, banking, and credit card accounts. Sharing this information can lead to accounts being hacked and personal and financial information being stolen. Before answering a quiz, figure out who created it. Review the social media account's privacy settings. Don't share your phone number or address on social media accounts. And don't accept friend requests from people you don't know. Also, be wary of a second friend request from someone you are already connected with. The second profile may be an imposter trying to access your data and your friends list.
Connecticut has lost $35 million in gross earnings taxes because cable TV providers are losing customers.
Yet cable companies continue to enjoy a tax exemption on their equipment that their telecom competitors don't get.
At the same time, the telecoms don't pay gross earnings tax.
This doesn't make sense.
It's time to level the playing field.
Make everyone pay their fair share.
Please support sustainable funding for digital equity,
Community access.
and the CTN network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Chris Aniskovich. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, sir. All right, so we talked about town stuff in the first half.
Yes.
Let's switch over to your state representative role.
Okay.
How things going?
Excellent.
Last time we were together, it was right before, I think it was right before session.
Yep. Session started
January?
Already. Done in May.
Yeah.
So this is a short session. So, but it doesn't mean you do the same amount of work, but you do it in a short session.
Yes.
So we'll be there up until May 8th, and that's when we break. But it's the same sort of process. So we still go through bill proposals, discussing bills, bringing them to the floor. The most of the stuff, though, since we have a biennium budget, most of the bigger asks have to be budget related.
Okay.
So your bill proposal process have to go through the committee. So it has to come out of the committee. If you would like to propose a bill, you go directly to the committee, which is a different process in the long session. But it's sort of the same thing. So once we started, we're there a lot.
Right.
So you go to your committee meetings, and then you have public hearings, and depending upon kind of the what the bill proposal is, the public hearings can get fairly lengthy.
Oh boy.
I serve on the Commerce, Banking, and General Law committees. General Law is I love General Law because obviously it encompasses a lot.
Right.
But they all work. I love being on all those. They're very active, and a lot of stuff goes on. So process is the same. You spend a lot of time up there. The public hearings are the same. But hopefully, towards the end, you spend more time in session than you would on a longer session. So once you start getting those dates, you realize that you're going to be living in Hartford for a long time.
Right. And then once session.
But that's what you sign up for. So.
Right, exactly. And then once session's over, you can come back down to the district and.
Well, yeah. So what happens? I know it's considered a part-time job, but it really isn't. It's kind of what you put into it as a representative. I've always wanted to be active and visible and in the districts. Right. Finding out what's going on in your district and knowing what's happening in your district. So there's still things that you do throughout the year. Right. Now we're doing the Read Across America. So attending different schools, throughout the district, and you go to each school and you do your reading. You wear funny headbands.
I saw pictures of you.
Very nice. And when they ask you, you say, yes, I'm going to do that.
Right, of course.
But they're fun because they're, you go and you read to the young kids, and it's great. It's great to be in the community, the schools. It's, it's good. I enjoy doing it. And on that note, I will continue to hopefully do it again.
Yeah.
It's because I will be running again.
Okay.
I will be filing my paper for re-election this week. So.
Okay. So was that the official announcement?
I guess that would be the official announcement.
That would be the official
unofficial announcement.
Oh, good.
But yes, so I've known that I'm going to run again.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't, I don't think, a secret to people.
No.
I think they understand how much I enjoy doing it, how much I like being up there.
Right.
To being a voice. And I think the one benefit that I've had through the process and I've learned is that I'm very middle of the road, and I'm up there to help the people in my district and do what's best for them, and that's what I do. I don't go up there with a whole bunch of agendas. I go up there with an open mind, knowing that I'm going to go up there and listen and learn and bring back to the districts, or bring what I hear from the districts up there and support that. And I know that I've done that, in my first year up there. I will continue to do it this year, and I will continue to do it for as long as they'll have me up there. It was, this past week I was lucky enough to testify on a couple of caucus bills, which was exciting. As a first-term legislator, sometimes you don't always get that opportunity, but I was able to do that. A couple things related to waiving sales and use tax on clothing under $100.
Okay.
So that was, something that we talked about there, and then also introducing a child tax deduction as opposed to a credit. So up to $2,000 for any child 17 and under. So those are just things that you kind of learn and go through as you're up there. The one benefit as a first term is you just listen a lot.
Exactly.
You go up and you listen, and you kind of learn the ropes. I have been lucky enough to have been up there in the past when my brother was up there.
Yep.
To kind of see how it kind of all works. And the one good thing about lobbyists is sometimes they never leave, because my brother's been out of there 12 years, and a lot of the lobbyists that are still up there are still there, and they still know the name. So at least I'm good. But it's good. It's exciting, when you go up there, and it's good to be part of that. So running again is something that I knew I wanted to do from the beginning, and it's exciting to kind of start that process. Once you get through the short session, then you begin the whole process all over again. 2 years goes quick.
Yeah.
Goes very quick.
It does.
So
what are some of the issues that you're seeing with the committees that you're on?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, like commerce, relates to like small businesses and mom and pop. So one of the big things this session was Targets and Walmarts wanted to be reclassified as grocery stores, and if they could be and permittees, and if they could get that done, then they would be able to sell beer in their stores. So that was a very big proposal.
Okay.
That came forth, and I have a district where there are a lot of package stores.
Yes.
Clinton tends to have a lot of them. Doesn't mean we're a bad community. We just like to, we like to make sure everybody's, their thirst is quenched. So I support that. I support mom and pops, the small businesses.
Oh yeah.
I believe that's the fabric of our communities, especially our smaller communities. Where that's they make our town run.
Right.
Always been supportive of it. I was supportive of it last time when they tried to bring it into the grocery stores last time and have to sell wine in grocery stores, so I didn't support that. I supported the package stores, because you get to meet these people, and when you meet them, you realize that these are mom and pops, and their kids are there, and their nephews and their nieces, and the longevity of how long these places have been open, and you want to be able to support them. So that was a big push on commerce. It didn't come out of committee, so that's not going to go to the floor for a vote this year.
Oh no.
Banking, we deal with a lot of Department of Banking issues as it relates to a number of different things. Going down to what names are on bank statements for the elderly,
right,
so that people can't take advantage, of them, even within households. So there's a lot of things that, Department of Consumer Protection relates to commerce, banking on the banking side, and general laws encompasses everything. And there's a lot of, once cannabis was passed in this state, there's continually looking at, ways to kind of modify kind of those things that are out there.
Right.
So cannabis and hemp became a sort of a big issue on this time. So there's bills that we'll deal with. One big one we'll be dealing with tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll be up talking about that. But those are the things that, you kind of, it engages you and you have to stay engaged, because once a bill passes, it doesn't mean that that's it. Because what can happen is that bill can be modified, and there can be things that we can do in order to, maybe make things a little bit better. So you just have to stay open-minded. The difficult thing on bills, and people always ask, why did you vote on this bill?
Right.
And I might have voted in favor of that bill because there were things in that bill that I liked,
right,
that I think were important for my district.
Correct.
But there may have been other things in that bill that I didn't like.
Right.
So you have to kind of weigh your options when you're up there and understand the bills. So there is a lot of work that you have to put into reading the bills and understanding the bills. the help that they give you once you're up there is immense. You have a legal staff that can help you, so there's people that you can always talk to.
Right.
The important thing is you have to be visible, you have to be there, and you have to engage. You have to go to wherever you need to go in order to get the answers if you have questions, because it's you're going to be asked the question.
Right.
If there's bills that are out there that you voted one way, but there was things in there that somebody didn't like, and you supported it, but you supported it for a different reason.
Right.
So.
All right, I got a question for you.
Okay.
In your
Oh, boy.
personal
You're
opinion,
gonna get me in trouble now.
start with me. Why is public access so important to you?
I mean, public access is important to every community it's in. I mean, it's important because it's a way for people in your community to get the word out to people that don't have the ability to maybe attend a meeting, maybe to be out in the public and get information that they may need, and showing that public access is something that's available to anybody through local cable network is huge. I mean, it brings the message to the public. I mean, the biggest thing that you always find, as an elected official anywhere, it's communication. I mean, that's important. And it's important that this is an avenue that people can utilize in their own home whenever they want. Because, I mean, they can see it whenever they want. They can turn on the TV and they can look at something and go back if they choose.
Yeah.
So the access that they give is immensely important. I mean, I would always support, obviously, the continuation of funding for these because we need this.
Right.
And we need this in order to make sure that people are getting the information that they need. Allowing me the ability to come here and talk about things that people otherwise may not know.
Right.
It gives me an avenue for people to get to know me other than just saying he's a state rep or he's on the council. For people to know me, hear me, understand where I'm coming from.
Who are you again?
I don't know.
See
See it happen.
You don't know, huh?
Yeah. See?
See?
So that's important. I mean, any communication that you can bring to the public so that they're aware of what's going on. That's what we need.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yep.
And as far as what else is going on up at the Capitol?
Well, the big ones obviously are electric
budget.
vehicles.
Yeah.
Well, the budget's done. So our budget's a biennium budget up at the Capitol. So
right.
things now that we fight on, or not fight, I shouldn't say fight, that we discuss, are funding that you want to increase funding for certain avenues.
Okay.
So the nonprofits, education, early childhood, there's a lot of different places that come and ask for more funding once the biennium is passed. And nonprofits is another one. I mean, it's something that I fully support, and anything we can do to get more money to nonprofits is something that I would always support because it's important for us to support what they do on a daily basis and know that it's important for them to survive because they are a huge part of every community that we're in and they do a lot of good work. Right. So those are the things that you kind of talk about, and you being out and being visible at events. We go to a lot of legislative events, so a lot of breakfasts, a lot of wherever, and I go to all of them.
Yep.
And the reason I go to them is because you meet the people that are involved.
Right.
And I want to hear from the people. I want to hear from them, and hear what they have to say.
Right.
If you don't go, you don't know. So shame on you. So you want to be able to go to these events, and you want to be able to meet the people, and you want to be able to listen to them. And that's very important as a legislator, is making sure that you're attending these events so that people understand. Other than the budget and the funding issues, this session is obviously huge. Discussion on EVs. Electrical vehicles are a big play. It's going to be a discussion that continues to go on. There's going to be a group that's going to be set up to do a study on how we can kind of get to that. So there's some back and forth on that.
Oh, okay.
As far as that goes, I think people understand where it's headed. I think the issue becomes, how do we get there? Because there's a lot of unforeseen circumstances as it relates to that.
Right.
We don't have the infrastructure in order to maintain that.
No.
So if you don't have an infrastructure, how are we going to mandate that everybody should be there?
Right.
The other problem I have is that, low to moderate income individuals, how are they going to afford to be able to buy these electric vehicles?
Yes.
They are more expensive than, gasoline vehicles. And so it's, you have to weigh all those options. Right. I understand kind of the need and the discussion and the environment and such, but you have to look at those unforeseen circumstances and feel like how you're going to impact those other individuals. Because you're still allowed to buy a gas-powered car, but on the used market, well, we know what would happen. Those values, those costs for those vehicles would go up immensely.
Yes.
Because they're limited. So then you're pricing out kind of a certain dynamic, and it's hard. And it's, that's the feedback that I'm getting. And that's the other reason you're in your district and you go to events, because you want to hear from people on what they have to say. You know, my opinion, I mean, you know, my kids will tell you the same thing. My opinion doesn't matter. What matters is listening to, you know, the people in your district and bringing their voices up to Hartford and making sure that you support them. You know, throughout the whole year, I get emails, I get messages from people and speaking on what they support and what they oppose. And those play an impact on how I look at things and how, because if somebody's willing to take the time to send me an email about what they support or what they oppose, that's important to me because you're taking the time.
Right.
You know, it's not a standard, you know, email message that says,
Right.
somebody told me to send this to you and put my name on it. That, you know,
It's not a standard form letter.
right. You know, anybody can do that.
Right.
I want to hear from people and have their own opinions on why and how it affects them. You know, the other thing is for the funding side of things, we're in the bill that I supported and co-sponsored was putting back the funding for Shoreline East. The governor cut it. We're trying to get some more money to be put back on it because of, you know, just hearing the stories from people, how they've had to change their whole way of getting to work in New Haven because they can't take the train in Clinton
Right.
because of, you know, the time changes, you know, so they get to work at different times. So those are the stories that you want to hear because that's real life and that's how it affects people.
Right.
You know, and I think Shoreline East plays a big part. You know, ridership was down, absolutely. COVID
Yeah.
hit, you know, but what are we going to do? You know, district-wide, as far as it relates to the Westbrook outlets, there's been an article about that. So, I mean, that's
I
going to
saw
turn
that.
into, you know, it's going to turn into a nice little area where, you know, if you're going to build 595 apartments, you know, having
Sure.
Shoreline East available in order to maintain, you know, more ridership is important to this district.
Right.
So I make sure that I'm part of that and a voice in that and making sure that we can try to get some funding back for that. That project will take a while, but it's going to be a huge project. You know, so 595 apartments, 100 condos, 70,000 of retail space, you know, so it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a very nice project.
Now, do you think it's going to affect the movie theater, or who knows?
We had a meeting, I don't know, a couple months ago.
All right.
They want to keep the movie theater because they think it would be good for that area.
Right.
They don't know if they'll keep it there or move it to a different location within the project. The only other issues up there are septic, and that they're working with the town of the town of Westbrook now.
Wrong town.
Wrong town. And but it's good. So they're dealing with, you know, with the town now. They've been working with the town of Westbrook for 2 years.
Right.
That's how long that project has been in the works. Nobody's talked about it because it was just in the preliminary stages.
Right.
But the town themselves, it's been a long time coming, so they're excited. You know, John Hall obviously is very excited the fact
Yes.
that, you know, that this is something that came to fruition. And looking forward to it because it brings more to our communities.
Yeah, and I actually remember you were talking about getting out in the community, going to different events. I remember last summer, last spring, you and I hanging out at your food drive.
Yes, yeah, exactly right. Right? Well, I mean, those are the things you
with
do.
Jason.
Yep. That was a good event.
Yeah, that
A lot of fun.
was.
So those are the things that you do.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I mean, you're doing something for your community, you're giving back to your community, and that's what you need to do.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot, but not really.
Uh-oh.
Read Across America Week was last week, and you put the thing on your head.
I had a headband on.
What book did you read, and where were you?
Oh, gosh.
See? I don't know this answer, Sal.
Where's my phone? Really? You got to call me out on that?
I'll call you. You don't remember?
Yeah, no, I don't remember what book I read.
All right.
I went to 2 different schools.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't know.
You don't remember. Okay.
Killingworth is good because I read the book and they had a screen, and on the screen they had the pictures of the book. It was really cool. They brought everybody into the auditorium, so that was fun. Well, that was my headband day.
Cool.
And then in Clinton, I read Amelia Bedelia.
Okay.
I do remember that.
At what
Because
school?
that was recent. To the 5th grade.
Okay.
See?
Yeah, you can-
Killingworth, it'll come back to me. I'll just yell it out loud when
It'll
it
come
comes back to
you.
me.
All right.
See?
That
Lot to remember.
That works.
Yes.
Now, how much fun do you have getting out in the community and going to all these different events that you have to go to because you've represented 3 towns?
I love it. I mean, I really do. You sign up for it, so if you're going to be an elected official, you want to be able to make sure that you go out and do it. I mean, when I was running, it was great. You would go to, I went to every event. I mean, last summer, it was just every event you went to. And, you meet a lot of different people, you go to a lot of events, and it's fun. Now, once you're elected, this time around, when I run this time around, it's going to be, it'll be better because you're an elected official at that point, and then you'll have more people coming to you and kind of, talking to you about what they think, what's affecting their life, what things are, and then the other thing that I always hear about is just we're not affordable in Connecticut.
No.
Housing, affordability, these are the problems that we face, and it faces every community, and the housing shortage is very difficult.
Right.
That's the talk and a conversation that goes on all the time in Hartford, and it's hard to make it affordable in some of our smaller communities for the simple fact of the infrastructure.
Right.
If you don't have the density in order to build these units, then what process can you go through in order to make sure that you can still do that? And it's expensive. If a developer comes in and it's a for-profit developer, and they have to put in a new system for septic, how is that going to affect their bottom line?
Right.
And then if they're for profit, what they're going to be renting those units for. They're not going to be renting them for affordable.
No.
And even for affordable in our towns aren't really affordable.
Yeah. No.
I mean, affordability can be somewhere, into the almost $2,000, for a 2-bedroom unit.
Yeah, right.
And so that's not necessarily affordable.
No.
So there's long conversations that are had up in Hartford about that. And I don't know, the answer to that, it will take years, because you're not going to be able to, the one issue that we dealt with up in Hartford was that it was like everybody fit into the box.
Yep.
And there's no way. There's no way that works. So we all can't fit in the same box. We have to have things outside of there to make sure that the smaller communities have ways that they are able to provide affordable units. But how do you get to that?
Right.
Because it's expensive, and it's costly, and the process could take forever.
I remember when you were running for election the first time, you were out campaigning,
Yeah.
and I am obviously a different party than you. You took me with you, and I remember Devin Carney
Yeah.
saying to you,
What are you with him for?
yeah, exactly.
He said he unfortunately likes me. I said his mother made him come.
Yes.
But I mean, that's the way I am. And
Oh,
you
me
know
too.
that. I mean,
Oh,
I don't play party lines.
No.
I mean, because you get nowhere with that.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going up there with that mentality, then why are you running? Because if you're running because I'm only going to vote a certain way because I'm a certain political affiliation,
That ain't gonna work.
You don't belong up there.
No.
Because you're not going to get anything done.
No.
The purpose is, obviously, I'm in the minority party. I get it. But that doesn't mean you can't get things done.
Get things done, right?
You can get things done, but you have to be amicable and open to getting those things done.
Right.
You have to be willing to talk to the other side. You have to be willing to negotiate. I serve, my district has, Democratic senators. I serve Norm Needleman and Christine Cohen. She's in Killingworth with
That's
me.
right. She's in
Norm's with Clinton. I mean, I work well with both of them, great with them.
Right.
Because I know that you need to, because you need to work together because you're both working for your communities together. And you need their help and their support on a lot of the things that we do. And I've worked well with Christine up in Killingworth, Norm and Clinton. I mean, and I enjoy that. There's no reason to be, to have any bad blood between anybody.
No. And from what I understand, you guys, they actually have a new first selectman in Killingworth.
They do. Eric Kuchar is the
Okay.
new first selectman up there, and they have a whole new
board.
So they're all starting over again.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
I haven't met Eric yet.
good guy. Yep,
Is
I
he?
met him a couple times.
Okay.
So it's good. Yep. But those are the things you do that, I mean, you go out and you meet the people, and again, it doesn't matter what party you are, you're going to work together.
Right.
I was happy, again, we got Vista $500,000 grant to do work on the Vista.
I saw you, speaking of that, I saw your picture in the paper not long ago.
Yep. So we fought hard to get that, and
Yeah.
they needed it. They welcomed me up there, and we went in and looked at the building, and the building needed, the outside of the building needed a lot of work.
Yeah.
The walkways and the porches, and you have people that are disabled. Some need wheelchairs, and they weren't able to get around. So we had to fight to get it on the bond commission. First go around, we didn't get it, and kept fighting. Second go around, we got it, and it was important to. To bring that back to the community, to know that I was there to fight for them. And, I supported it, I worked with them, and
Yep.
we were able to get it done.
And that's the property here in Westbrook,
Yep. This is the Life Innovations.
right around the corner.
Yep.
From where we are right now.
So it's, those are the things, it makes you feel good, that you're doing things and you're giving back. And then once you meet the people in those, because I went to Vista multiple times and met the people there and the students there, they're great people.
Yeah.
You know, they work in all of our communities.
Right.
A lot of them work in Clinton at the Stop and Shop. I see them.
Right.
You know, I love them. I mean, they yell my name out now. So, you know, it's good that you meet them and you get along with them and you know, you feel part of the community, they feel part of the community, and so that's what you do. So it's important to do that. It's important to be visible. Sometimes it's not good.
No.
My daughter doesn't like going to the grocery store with me anymore because I have to talk to too many people.
Oh, trust me.
But that's okay.
I remember when my mom was on the board of
Exactly,
selectmen,
right.
going to the grocery store for 3 things took her an hour and a half.
Yes.
You
You got to go to the grocery store. Now you go at like, Stop and Shop closes at 9, you go at 8:30.
Yeah.
In and out. But it's good.
ShopRite, you go in the afternoon, but you don't go on Tuesdays.
Right? Certain days. You learn
Right.
your lessons. But it's good. But I enjoy going when people are there because you do get to talk to people.
Right.
You know, and it is good. They see you there. And that was one of the things that, like with the whole town manager, like when we changed our form of government, you know, before we had the first selectman and they always saw the first selectman.
Yeah.
Right? Then when we changed to town manager, people were like, well, you know, we don't see him anymore.
Right.
Well, because it's a different individual. That's not a first selectman. You know, that's the town manager and he has a different job and a responsibility.
Right.
So.
I could think of a particular first selectman who was all over town.
Still is. Still see him, of course.
I haven't seen him.
I see him at the grocery store all the time.
I haven't
it's good.
seen him. My mom's on a committee with him.
Yeah.
With Arthur Isaacson.
Yep.
And that.
Yep. Yeah, and actually they have another project they're looking to kind of maybe do some more.
They do? Which one?
They have a nonprofit. They're trying to get some more land so they can build some more units as well. So it's sort of in process. I don't know what's happening with it, but I know they've been talking about it. So there's a lot of good stuff going on in Clinton. I mean, it really is. You know, it's good to see what's going on in, you know, Westbrook at the outlets.
Yeah.
You know, people have seen that, you know, kind of the demise of that outlet. But it's good to see some, you know, breathe new life into it and get it going again.
Right.
You know, Killingworth, you know, is just Killingworth.
What's going on in Killingworth?
I mean, they just, you know, they do their thing up there. You know, I mean, it's amazing that they have nothing. Like, it's like they don't have a grocery store.
Nope.
You know, but it's like, it's a great community. And again, the reason, again, small businesses.
Right.
I mean, a lot of mom and pops. You know, there's a lot of restaurants up there that, you know, Barrel House and Twisted Goat and a couple new, you know, bakeries. And I mean, there's plenty of stuff up there. You know, and those are the places that you need to go and support, especially the new ones to make sure that they continue to thrive.
Right.
And it's hard, you know, when you have a smaller community, not a big population, you have to make sure you get the word out.
Right.
So I do what I can to help and provide them grant information for funds they may need, you know, for their businesses. So that's, you know, makes you part of that community.
And if you're up in Killingworth, you got to go to the Copper Skillet.
Oh, well, you always go to the Copper Skillet.
And
right,
see
for
our
breakfast.
friend.
Which one? What do you mean? Why are you looking at me like that?
Diane.
Oh, Diane. Well, she's at Coastline Brewery.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, that's what I mean. Those are the things that,
Right.
you know, the small businesses are what make these communities work.
Right.
You know, we're not like the big cities where you have, you know, the big, you know, Targets.
yeah,
and,
the
you know,
big
big boxes. We don't have
box
that.
stores.
So, and you know, Clinton, we have 5 package stores and we got 3 grocery stores.
Yeah, there you go.
We have everything everybody needs.
That's right. And I even saw up in Essex, they had where Colonial Market was.
Yep.
Right across from, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
They had Colonial Market in Essex.
Yeah. What's next to it?
Right across from where Oliver's used to be is where Colonial Market was.
Okay.
They actually had they had a grocery store
Open up?
open up recently.
Yeah, I mean, that's those, and
Yeah.
then, like you got the smaller, like we have big box ones, but I mean, like at the outlets, at the Westbrook outlets, they were talking about doing a smaller
Really?
grocery store.
Cool.
Because that whole thing is going to be like its own little development.
Yeah.
Because there's so many units in there. So, you know, whatever you can bring in, I mean, that's, you know, but, you know, unfortunately, like a place like Killingworth, they really don't have much.
No, there's nothing.
You know?
There's nothing there.
But it's my district, leave it alone.
Exactly.
They do well. They're okay.
The ice cream place is there.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Well, the old Killingworth Inn has been sold as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's going to hopefully be redeveloped and deciding what to kind of put in there. So that
Cool.
hopefully will be another restaurant up there.
Cool.
Somebody had posted something about that. So it's good. A lot of growth. A lot of good stuff.
Awesome. Chris Aniskovich, thanks for some time. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Peter.
You got it. On behalf of Chris Aniskovich, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next week.